there is more direct export of the memory on the initialized vulnerability. It can use, we can use it to do directly to launch a double spend attack. So here is an example in EOS. In EOS WebAssembly virtual machine use glue memory opcode to apply for new memory. The problem is that the request new memory was not clear to 0, not receipt to 0. So the content of memory returned by glue memory opcode is actually random. Then attacker can use it to double spend his money. The underlying reason of the above example of inconsistent execution is that randomness was introduced into smart contract. However, the inconsistent execution does not necessarily only depend on randomness. There are many other ways to introduce inconsistency into smart contract. For example, logical vulnerabilities, subjective or objective difference between different nodes can also result in inconsistency.
The ancient Egyptians left an indelible mark on human civilization.
Hey guys and gals, my name's Jason Bond and I teach people how to trade stocks. Now I have thousands and thousands.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to this Ready Set Crypto video. So I wanted to make this video addressing the coins I think will be good additions to a well-diversified portfolio, and hopefully could be some of your biggest winners in 2018. Now there's three things we need to talk about before we get into my list. First, do your own research. This is not financial advice. This is not me telling you to drop everything and buy highly risky assets that could easily go to zero. Only invest what you can lose. Do your own research. Second, let's talk about how we evaluate coins that, in a lot of cases, don't have a working product to market, don't have market penetration, and at a lot of times are backed solely on faith. Here's a couple ways we look at cryptocurrencies. First and foremost, how is the tech and the white paper? Does it have solid and usable technology? Does it have a clear future use case? Does it solve a problem? Does it have a transparent, researchable team? Is there evidence of active GitHub or code or a working product? What's the team like? How are they organized? What's their track record? What's their funding scheme? Are they mostly backed by private investors, venture capital, institutional investment, their ICO, etc.? What institutional backing do they have? Do they have high profile partnerships? Do they have partnerships with other cryptocurrency teams? What's their growth potential? Guys, you should look up how VCs evaluate a startup, because when you invest in a crypto, 2018 will be amazing for Neo. So watch this one. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into the fun part, to the top 10 in the future. To that end, Monero, Neo, and EOS are some of the obvious picks for that, and so I won't spend too much time on them. They're pretty solid picks, and of them, Neo is my favorite coin around this market cap. I've been supporting them since they were ant shares. They have a great team. They've got a great community. And if you've never heard of the City of Zion, it's a whole group of volunteer developers working to make the Neo ecosystem even better. It's amazing stuff. Couple that with the fact that Neo pays gas dividends and that they're already launching a ton of ICOs on their platform, that they have a lot of ambitious goals lined up, and how it's becoming one of those coins that you see on everyone's list these days. I have to give Neo my strongest recommendation. I often say that Neo is about 1 year behind Ethereum, which means that just like how Ethereum had an explosive year in 2017, 2018 will be amazing for Neo. So watch this one. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into the fun part. Let's discuss some of the best coins.
Welcome back, trainers. So we're going to be doing my final Sinnoh evolution, which is going to be Honchkrow into Markrow. I don't know why I waited till the very end for this one, because I was most excited for this as well. Now, this is actually going to find some usability in PvP, seeing that it is going to be a dark type. It's going to be weak to fighting, but since it is picking up that flying type, it's just going to be neutral damage as well as bug types. But necessarily bugs are not a big threat in PvP unless you're using a Caesar. So let's go ahead and do this, because I've been waiting for this for quite some time. Take a look at the trainer there. That is the one I'm actually going up against, Chirk. So much appreciated for the battles as well. Now, let's see what we have here. And we're going to take a look at its movesets and stats to see.
Hey, we think cryptocurrency and blockchain is going to change the world. And if you guys want to learn about it with us, come check out our YouTube channel. It's all
So anyway, yeah, congratulations on that. That's pretty impressive. But if we look at the other coins of the day, we have ELF, Crypto.com, Decentraland, Eternity, VeChain, Steam, Monacoin, Chainlink, Litecoin, and Mixin all doing quite well today. Now, getting off of looking at the charts for a second, because what else are we going to do? Just keep looking at the same, like literally just keep looking at this all day? So having a look at what these guys are saying, you know, there are some experts that are claiming that there might not ever be a bull run again, like 2017, because the Bitcoin futures market has provided speculators with an instrument to bet against it, right? So now you can make money shorting Bitcoin and longing Bitcoin. So hey, we're in a bear market, who cares? These guys, they're just going to short and they're going to make their money anyway, right? But Kevin Duffy, now he's from Next Level Finance, he believes that billions of dollars have been invested and a much higher spike than 2017 is expected because of technological developments. So if we look here, he went on to say, while it's reasonable to expect that the next spike is even higher than the previous spike, just like the 2017 spike was higher than the 2013 spike, a subsequent crash is likely as well. The boom-bust nature of Bitcoin every few years isn't overly negative. However, each spike brings Bitcoin back to the mainstream's consciousness, which attracts new attention and brings more interest to the platform. This is key for long-term development of the platform and protocol. In fact, the other day when we were talking in that interview, you know, and they asked me, what do you think would really get people interested again? You know, is it going to be institutions? Is it going to be this and that? Sure, maybe a little bit, but realistically speaking, the majority of people that aren't getting into Bitcoin, you know, like Venezuela, who's just using it as a better form of money, it's pretty much just because the price is going up, right? So you're not going to see the masses come back in until we have that $10,000 Bitcoin, right? Which is why, you know, if you're watching right now, not financial advice, but you're pretty lucky right now to be having an opportunity like this, paying attention to Bitcoin during such a boring time, right? So he goes on to say that in all likelihood, we will see another run like 2017, super spike in Bitcoin, but it won't be for a few years. The 2017 spike had similarities to the late 2013 spike, which saw the price of Bitcoin rally from a low $100 price to over $1,200 in just a couple of months. And that's the thing that most people don't realize. In fact, when we go back and we look at the overall chart of Bitcoin, you'll see that that massive run-up in 2017 really only occurred during a very small portion of time, mostly a month, with the majority of the gains being made in just 3 weeks. That's why you got to get in when no one's talking about it. Not financial advice, but you know. So while most Bitcoin enthusiasts vividly recall the 2017 spike, he says those of us following Bitcoin for most of the decade recall that the 2013 spike had much of the same characteristics, you know, so between the two spikes was a prolonged period of sideways trading. After that, rise, fall, period may refer to the crypto winter, which is what we're in right now, but eventually we will see these cycles Because that's all they are. They're just cycles, guys. Now, will it play out exactly in a 4-year cycle like it did the last time? Probably not. I mean, it's very different this time around. There's a lot more eyes on it. There's a lot more institutional money coming in, right? All these different tools that are being built, like Backed and Fidelity. It's a very different game than JP Morgan launching a coin, right? So, you know, we will have to take all these factors in, but it is inevitable, and it is a good time to be in. Now, I do want to point out something that the CME Group CEO Terry Duffy said. Now, this was it was an interview in Bloomberg TV, and it's only about 30 seconds, but I just want you to, actually, it's a little over 30, it's like a minute, but I want you to check out what he was saying about, you know, his opinion on how Bitcoin will survive, and also he kind of talks about the JPM coin a little bit too. So I'm just going to play this real quick for you guys. Let me make sure the volume is up before I play it.
You obviously offer the chance to be able to gain some exposure to Bitcoin in particular. And I want to get your take on institutional demand for this at the moment. Interestingly, we've got news that JP Morgan is looking at unleashing their own coin. This, of course, is for their own internal transactions. But is institutional demand there? Is it rebounding? Is it hitting some sort of bottom, Terry?
You know what, Caroline, I'm not quite sure. You know, I was a big believer that we needed to go forward and list Bitcoin in some way, shape, or form, but also understanding this is a brand new asset class that has come into the marketplace, so you need to be able to walk before you run. So we put a lot of controls that we don't have on certain products on Bitcoin. So I think that was important. So the bottom line is, I think until governments really start to accept cryptocurrencies of some way, shape, or form, it's going to be very difficult for the major commercials to come in here and really
The Amazon Echo users are reporting that Alexa has been letting out a spontaneous and rather creepy laugh, completely unprompted. Imagine that. Some are even saying that they'll hear random chuckles coming out of their Alexa in the dark long after.
Oh. Alexa, what was the joke?
Why did the chicken cross the road?
I don't know that one. Why?
Because humans are a fragile species who have no idea what's coming next.
All right, well, thanks for clearing that up, Alexa.
Have a nice day.
I think that might be Hillary Clinton in there. Thank you. Yes, get that. All right.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Hacking the Headlines. As you just heard in those clips there, it is being reported that the Amazon Echo device, which is commonly referred to as Alexa, is sending out witch-like laughs to people for no apparent reason, and it's also supposedly refusing to obey commands in certain cases as well. So I wanted to get into this more because I thought it was really strange, but not surprising, and I wanted to share my thoughts on it. And what happened last night? We got home and totally, so I think there's a lot of prediction.
Hey Google, who is Buddha?
According to Wikipedia, Gautama Buddha, also known as Siddhartha Gautama, Shakyamuni Buddha, or and practices that developed in Western nations during the 19th believe that there is one true God, the Supreme Spirit, called Brahman. Brahman has many forms, pervades the whole universe, and is symbolized by the sacred syllable Om. Was the founder of Islam.
Hey Google, who is Trump?
According to Wikipedia, Donald John Trump is the 45th and current President of the United States, in office since January 20th, 2017.
Hey Google, who is Elvis?
According to Wikipedia, Elvis Aaron Presley was an American singer, musician, and actor.
Hey Google, who is Pikachu?
According to Wikipedia, Pikachu are a species of Pokémon, fictional creatures that appear in an assortment of video games, animated television shows and movies, trading card games, and comic books licensed by the Pokémon Company, a Japanese corporation.
Hey Google, who is Jesus?
Sorry, I don't understand.
Hey Google, who is Jesus Christ?
Sorry, I don't know how to help with that.
Fuck you, Google.
Okay, so there you have it. The Google Home device just flat out refusing to answer the question, who is Jesus Christ? Of course it can answer who Allah is, who Buddha is, what the New Age is, who Satan is, but it has no idea who Jesus is. And again, I think it's because this is the fallen angels working through this technology. You know, the people who are funding this technology and creating it, they are the ones who are doing all these rituals and conjuring up these spirits who are then giving them instructions on how to lead humans into the transhumanist age. And that's why we see these kind of effects with this technology.
Greetings, DevCon attendees. It is almost 9:30. We are getting ready to start in the main room. Please grab coffee, grab bagels, and make your way to the main room for our first talk. Thank you. he's the next speaker. Okay. Reminder, we are getting ready to start in the main room. Please make your way into the main room for our first session for the second day of the Neo DevCon. Thank you very much. Greetings, Neo DevCon. My name is Harry Pearson. You might remember me from my session yesterday on XLang. I am going to be your master of ceremonies today. Without any further ado, let's get this morning started. I'd like to introduce Nolan Bowerly. He is a director of research at Coinbase. Please give him a round of applause.
CoinDesk, because everyone makes that mistake all the time. So I'm very used to it. It happens very regularly, don't worry. Easy slip of the tongue. So thanks everyone for coming so early in the morning. The title of the talk is Crypto Economics and Data Metrics for the Next Market Cycle. So the purpose of it really is to give you guys an insight on how all of your work is going to be interpreted when the market shifts in the next year or two. There's a lot of data projects going on right now, and so this is a bit of an overview of that, as well as trends. But of course, anytime we're talking about the future, it's a pretty good lesson to go into the past to find out a little bit about the trends and the reasons why certain things happen. So we're going to start this with a bit of a look at the original 2013 price spike and the data services that won, that really ended up getting a lot of traction and setting the standard from there on out. So of course, CoinDesk was one of them. We were the original global price of Bitcoin. So we did a very simple average. It wasn't even volume weighted. We just said there are spot market prices right now in London, in New York, in Tokyo, and Hong Kong. And there was a lot of arbitrage opportunity. A lot of people were making money by just trading between these cities. And we said, okay, that's great, but let's try to shrink those arbitrage opportunities. So we offered the first ever average price. We're still the average price in the Wall Street Journal and a couple other big publications, Yahoo Finance. You know, there's a lot of people who still cite this price, but there's a lot of other people who have done it. But it did set the trend for global pricing. The other important data service that really set the mark was blockchain.info. And this data service was really focused on the performance of the actual blockchain. So they started looking at mempool size, hash rate, all those kind of metrics that we've become familiar with. And then there were a lot of copies of that, of course. It wasn't just that blockchain did it. A lot of other companies did it right away thereafter. But these were really the two winners, and the two things that they achieved were global index pricing and blockchain performance metrics. Not much ended up happening in the bear market that happened after, other than things that copied these services. So there wasn't a ton of innovation in the next cycle. But what we saw in 2017 with the cryptocurrency proliferation with that price spike was that, of course, CoinMarketCap became the big data winner. They were offering something that no one else in the marketplace was, showing the market and exchange activity across a broad section of coins that a lot of people weren't paying attention to. Even at CoinDesk at the time, we said, okay, it's become so deep, how are we going to pay attention to more than 100 coins? These guys did it. And it was a really big innovation. And of course, we all remember how many times we were checking it every day constantly. And that really led to a very powerful base and a very powerful platform and product. So the three things that had really been done until 2017 were the global index price, the performance of every chain, or the performance of some chains, as well as exchange activity and showing the flows from each exchange for each asset and each trade pair. Very innovative stuff. What we're seeing now in the bear market is a pretty interesting thing. So after all these ICOs, after all of the raises, there's now a premium on seeing what's being delivered, what's being built. So we're starting to see a lot of development theater, and a lot of data services are springing up around what's going on in GitHub. So GitHub code trackers have become a really important data service in the past little while. CoinCap here, so this one is just tracking you know, what's going on in different repos, what's going on for different chains. Crypto Miso is much the same. Once again, tracking what's going on in these repos, tracking what's going on in projects to show that development is happening, because that's, of course, become the definition of an orphaned and abandoned project when the GitHub has gone silent, when the GitHub goes dead. But this is still not quite enough. So to reiterate what's gone before, we can see exchange data, what CoinMarketCap did. These kind of metrics are really important, and lots of people are covering them. But what's important is to start to think of what's happening next. So exchange data is a part of it. Network data, as we know, hash rate, on-chain transaction volume. Hash rate, not so interesting in this room, of course, but for a lot of platforms, still very, very important. Count of nodes, transaction fees. Social data, more and more important. You're seeing a lot of services measuring who's chatting about a thing, who's talking about it on what platform. Is it on Reddit? Is it on Twitter? And there's all sorts of new data services that are combining all of these things. Of course, developer data, as I just mentioned, is another big one. But when you start putting all of these data services together, we arrive at a point where we're at in the industry, when we're going to be measuring how these networks grow. And this is where things become really interesting. This is where we get into the field of crypto economics. So crypto economics, a very easy definition is it's not a subcategory of economics. It's economics like we all know. There's nothing different. It's about choice, making decisions, choosing one thing or the other. What it is a subcategory of system design and engineering. It's how networks grow, how decentralized networks grow through the economic incentives, through the economic forces that shape their growth. So these data points all start painting a picture of how these decentralized networks are growing. If you combine them all, they give a sort of topographical map of what these data services can look like. And there end up being sort of 5 pillars of this. So what we did at CoinDesk is we added all these 5 pillars together and turned it into a crypto economic explorer. So a way to judge the growth of all of these different networks. And this is NEO from January 1st until February 14th. We took all those data points and measured them along 5 separate axes. So I wouldn't put too much stock in this developer number, because one of the problems with our own platform and scaling that kind of data ingestion is that we're right now only measuring the repo for the core protocol. So it's not necessarily a sign of progress if you're going back and innovating on the core protocol. Theoretically, innovation slowing down is also a good sign. So we're not really at the point where we're scaling, and I'll get to that in a moment because we need your help. But we do see important metrics like network gaining a lot of steam. So that's a really important one for right now. Price is a little up, exchange pretty flat, social pretty flat. Here's what NEO looks like compared to Bitcoin. Now, in our metrics, still a beta product. This is the 5-point plan, 5-point product we created at CoinDesk to measure all of these forces. Now, this one is a little bit heavy on hash rate for network score. So that's why NEO doesn't have a very high score on this. But like I said, the methodology here is still in beta, so we're still trying to find a comfort zone and adding more data points and more points of reference. But that's why we need your help. So we have open sourced this entire methodology and data sources on GitHub. And in the spirit of crypto economics, we're opening it to everyone, especially the NEO community, all the other communities. We want to be able to track dApp activity, wallet activity, basically anything built on top of the core protocol we want to start tracking. So anyone can actually make a pull request now, tell us the repos that we should be tracking on GitHub, tell us the other data points that we're missing, and we're going to start adding those into our own backend and our own database. And so the crypto economics part of it is that, of course, through GitHub, all of people's contributions are attributed and tracked. So we're going to be offering a coin, and this coin will only be tradable for tickets to our events and other things like that. So we're not looking for a secondary market trading of the coin or anything like that. We're the sole buyer of the coin, but it will go towards tickets and fund services. So here's what we're tracking right now. Like I said, just the main GitHub repo. You can see NEO there, and we're looking for help to try to extend that and expand it and go further. But what we really see as the trend going forward will be these 5 buckets. These 5 pillars are going to be how the data services come together and truly measure the growth of a decentralized network. And in the end, these 5 pillars, what's going on in social media, what's going on-chain, what's going on in the network itself, who's contributing to the network, who's using the network, are people exchanging it, trading on exchanges, who's working on it, who's building on the GitHub, and what are the monetary policies. These 5 things in coordination become a way to measure, collectively, become a way to measure the crypto economic forces that are supporting and being conjured up by one of these projects. So we hope that all of your work here, that all of the work of the developer community and the people contributing to these networks will come into our data platform, and we'll be able to measure all of your fine work, and it will come out in our final product. But it won't just be us at CoinDesk who's doing this. We see this trend across the industry. Lots of people are trying to find a way to combine all these data points. CoinGecko, who is one of the sponsors of this event, I've spent a lot of time looking at their product. They're on the same track that we are. They're tracking social media, they're tracking GitHub, they're tracking exchange flows, they're tracking what's going on in the network. These elements here combined, the confluence of them, are really what the market is going to be measured, using to measure growth in the next market cycle, and looking for the big new winner on data services as we've seen before. So that's the presentation, guys, and we would love for you to contribute to the project. And so whatever you're doing, please go on our GitHub and open up a pull request and let us know. Let us see what we should be tracking. So thanks very much.
Sorry about that.
Don't sweat it.
Thank you, Nolan. Sorry for screwing up. Very first of the day. Screwed up. Great job on my part. Sorry about that. So next up, we have Antiton. So I'm just going to screw up every time I come up here. I think that's going to be the plan. No. Anatoly Bogatyrev. He is the co-founder and technical director of the NEO St. Petersburg Competency Center. Oh, I need the clicker. Nolan. I think we've lost the clicker already. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Give him a round of applause.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anatoly. I am CTO of the NEO SPCC. And I'm glad to be here today, and I will tell you about our core project and our activities. So, we are the R&D group located in the St. Petersburg. The group has been recently formed to support the NEO blockchain ecosystem. And NEO SPCC aims to build a community for research and development in blockchain in collaboration with top-tier universities and companies in Russia. And as a core project, we are creating the scalable, distributed, and decentralized storage platform integrated with the NEO blockchain. You can find detailed information about our company and activity on NEO News Today and our website. NEO SPCC has been founded by the PhD holders of the ITMO University and ETH Zurich and other experienced engineers with a great technical background. And over the past 5 months, we have put together a strong team capable to solve complex research and development tasks, and established several partnerships with different companies, universities, and communities. We are developing a storage platform integrated with NEO blockchain, implementing client-side encryption that allow users to provide and store their data and share their data without reliance on the third-party storage provider. Our ambitious goal is to provide users a full control over their data. According to the development system architecture, user controls where his data is stored, how his data is stored, and who can get access to it. We're considering various use cases, such as NEO Smart Economy, uses data storage, DApps, small medium enterprise, IoT. And let's go through use cases for public data storage, B2B, and IoT. We classify public storage use case on the external and internal ones. In the external use case, the system will become a reliable and secure platform for storing data from DApps and private users. And the internal use case requires some minor modifications in the NEO protocol. We hope to discuss this opportunity with NEO, and it allows us to storing data in our system for smart contracts, for example, storing smart contracts itself with keeping only a hash of the smart contract script in the blockchain. Also, we can store all block data in our system, not by the full nodes as it now. And it can increase NEO blockchain scalability and other very good things. Our system can be interesting and for SMEs as private distributed storage. It can also be used for storing archived or backup data in public storage due to our very flexible control system of storage policies, which I discuss some later. And we can store a large of unstructured IoT data and distribute it between different groups of IoT devices due to our placement function. I will discuss about it. So to make our storage platform efficient in the use cases, we have set the following goals. In order to achieve the goals and solve the corresponding problems, we have proposed a set of novel approaches and solutions. First of all, let's see how the network is organized and what roles a node may have. We'll look at 3 network node roles. It's the host, publisher, and client. Host is a part of the network map. Network map is some set of knowledge about network topology, and it's a part of accounting system. Host provides space for data storage. Publisher is not a part of network map, but it's a part of accounting system, and publisher stores data in the network. And client is not a part of network map, and also it's not a part of accounting system. And client can receive data from the network. And any node can combine different roles. Also, we have 2 layers of our network. It's inner and outer ring nodes. Outer ring nodes are responsible for storing data and ensuring the integrity and availability of the data. And inner ring nodes are responsible for maintaining information about network topology, accounting, and data audit. Inner ring nodes maintain all operation in conditions of total distrust of all network maps. And to solve this, DBFT consensus protocol is used. Information about all outer ring nodes forms a network map with some additional information. And inner ring nodes are responsible for keeping a network map up to date and distribute it over all network peers. Network map contains information about group of nodes, their location, and some other options for correct data search and placement. The network map is represented as a graph. A bucket, in our terms, is a vertex of the graph, and it's characterized by type and value. Nodes can only be leaves by the graph. Our system keeps the network map up to date and distributes it over all network nodes, each epoch. An epoch is a time period when a network map is unchangeable. The demo you can find by the link on the slide. And instead of maintaining a querying database with information about each object location or some additional meta information, our system uses a consistent placement function. We can place and get object without referring to a third party or storing object and not pair meta information. Doing so, we don't have to keep a huge amount of meta information in case of billion objects in our system. How does it work? A user can define a storage policy by placement rule. Placement rule consists of a set of select and filter operations applied to the network map. The result of these operations will be subgraph of the network map. So the select operation is applied to the network map. It takes as input a number of necessary buckets and a bucket type. The select operation takes this input information and forms some subgraph using for selection a rendezvous hashing algorithm. For instance, if we select as example 2 locations, then subgraph will be selected by the highest weight. In this example, 2 buckets has been selected. It's euro and row, and they were selected by rendezvous hashing. The filter is another operation is to apply to the graph. The operation inputs a bucket type, a bucket value, and comparison operation. The result of operation, we will get a subgraph. For example, if you want to store data on nodes with SSD disk only, you can set filter in the following way on the slide. And subgraph will be selected which contains only buckets fulfilling the condition. Also, we can combine different operations and as a group of operations. And it will be performed recursively when the operation of the next step will be performed for all buckets retrieved at the previous step. For example, for the placement rule, when we want to store our data only on nodes with SSD disk in 2 different locations with 3 nodes in each location, we can declare this placement rule as on the slide, and 1 set of nodes will be selected, no matter who and where performs the placement rule operation. A set of operations on the graph in the placement rule can be grouped using AND, OR, and NOT. So absolutely any storage policy can be declared. To store objects and work with them, we want to limit a subgraph on the network map in order to maintain scalability. This subgraph of the network map, we call it a container. In Amazon S3, the closest logical entity is a bucket. So in order to place objects in the system, a user needs to define this container. Container is defined using the placement rule and redundancy factor of the container. For example, we, on this slide, declare a container with 2 locations, 2 nodes in each location, and redundancy factor for container is 2. Exactly the same placement rule is used to place an object in the container. Placement rule, in this case, is applied to the container subgraph instead of network map at all. And as a rendezvous hashing result is an object hash ID instead of container ID. So a placement function result is deterministic and consistent. And placement group can retrieve without referring to a third party or storing a huge amount of meta information. When we store data, we need to check that this data is stored correctly. Data audit method is being developed to validate stored object availability and integrity. However, we have already created a novel approach of zero-knowledge data validation based on homomorphic hashing. On this link, you can find a demo about homomorphic hashing, and we will announce our novel approach soon. Thus, we can put or get an object from the network and verify that the object is stored correctly. What will happen if nodes, in case of nodes failure? Storage node control data replication since they are motivated by incentive model. And storage node checks the availability of requested number of object replicas that they are stored. That replication uses a placement function and ignores failed nodes. So it's the same process as a data placement. This enables to deterministically define the node where all network participants have replicated data in the same way as in data placement. Our approach to scalable data placement using a subset of network map, storage policy rule for an object placement, and rendezvous hashing for selection allow to control object location and minimal data movement in case of storage nodes failures. So fast storing and retrievability, it's also one of the important for us goals, because we also planning to support the video and some sound retrieving from our system. About privacy, in our system, the data publisher is responsible for data encryption. Control of encryption keys is assigned to the data publisher. And another principal task for us, it's AWS IPA-S3 compatibility for migration of existing application to our storage. And about payment. As a common solution of our storage is integrated with a deposit-based payment by gas token. And it's based on the NEO smart contract. Accounting is connected with the NEO blockchain and controlled by inner-ring nodes. And also, Nash can be used to convert input payments into gas token, so it will be possible of paying in fiat and cryptocurrency for stored data or get it back for host nodes. We are following the roadmap published on the website and planning to release our prototype of our system in summer. So we are happy to hear your feedback regarding our project and development. Also, we are open for discussion about potential partnerships and collaboration. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Anatoly. So we have a slight change in the order where the next two speakers are flipped. So we have Liu Young Sin. He's the founder of NEO Economic Labs and the NEO Name Service. Thank you very much. Give him a hand.
Hello, everyone. I'm Liu Yongxin, the founder of NEO Economic Labs and NEO Name Service. I'm very honored to come to this new DevCon and share with you what NEO has achieved over the past year. Okay. NEO is a new Chinese developer community. Why I found NEO? Because my English is poor. Just kidding. But that's the important reason. We mainly do three things. First, technical evangelism. Second, infrastructure construction. And third, ecosystem building. I will elaborate on these 3 points below. Regarding technical evangelism, we maintained a QQ group with 1,000 plus people who focus on new related technology discussion. We also built a Chinese new related technology exchange online forum. And we held a series of face-to-face open courses on new related technology. Nearly all projects emerging from Chinese community have received our technical support directly or indirectly. In the year 2018, we hosted the first new blockchain game development competition. More than 100 teams registered and submitted 14 entries. And 8 award-winning games were selected finally. Recently, these award-winning games have been launched one after the other. This competition has strongly promoted the development of new gaming ecosystem and its technology infrastructure. In terms of infrastructure building, we mainly developed these projects. We developed a high-performance network database called LetDB for New, and maintained a customized new node, and developed a multi-language SDK for interacting with new nodes, and developed the upper level and provided wallet and block-related API services, and developed the upper level wallet explorer and a smart contract debugging tool called NewRay, as well as new name service. Of course, more than that, there are more than 80 code libraries in our GitHub that can meet the technical needs of various types of new developers. I will highlight some of projects. The first is LetDB. LetDB is mainly to change the new storage part to network storage. And you can use LetNode to directly find the database to execute evoke script. That is to change the mode of new from one node, one process to one node, one cluster. LetDB is a modification based on RocksDB. It adds the concept of data types and table. The storage of news level DB is bad structure. It's difficult to understand what the data represents. LetDB storage data through DB value structure, which can describe the data type, recorder, and modifier timestamp. At the same time, different types of data are stored in different tables, such as transactions, UTXO, etc., to facilitate the query. LetDB supports network communication, which allows us to interact with nodes without having to go through the intermediate service layer, such as querying MP5 unstate balances and UTXO data verification. The third, the storage structure of database mimics the blockchain structure. It is connected in blocks and blocks, which makes the data synchronization very convenient. The backup database can be synchronized in units of task block. These are the main features of LetDB, which makes it easy to develop your wallet, explorer, and DApp. Next, let me introduce NewRay. A tool integrates development, compiling, deployment, and debugging of smart contract. It supports C# language now. We previously had a local version. NewRay is an online version to meet the cross-platform development needs. Here is the interface of the nearest contractor debugging interface. On this page, you can execute contractor line by line and observe various information such as virtual machine execution, notify information, and the evaluation stack to meet the requirements of contractor debugging. The third important project is new name service. As of now, there are already 25,000 plus registered domain names on NNIs. We have gained a lot of wallet support, such as O3, SEA, and our NLCF developed wallet. And we also get support from JAEX.com exchange. They will assign an NNI secondary domain name to each new user so that they can easily recharge. And there will be more wallets in the future supporting NNIs, such as Trinity, Blanket, Phantasma, etc. We will develop a diversified domain name secondary trading markets in the future on NNIs, such as formal of auctions, domain names like JAWS. We also plan to open other root domain registrations not limited to .new. In the NNIs project, there is a token called NNC. At present, NNC holders can receive the dividends of the domain auction incomes. And you can also purchase the pre-ordered domain names in the secondary market in NNC. In order to enrich the value of NNC tokens, we will extend the NNC function, which will be implemented in 3 features. The first feature is apply it to domain name service, which is already implemented now. And the second feature is apply it to other DApps. And the third feature is based on diversified DApp, we can form a DAO. So the value of NNC will be more stable because it's not bound to one single DApp anymore. Regarding the future plan of NAIR, we are currently focusing on these 3 points this year. High performance like DB-based node development, and Chrome extension wallet, which will have the open APIs for the DApp to interact with wallet, and token liquidity protocol. We will contribute to improve new ecosystem by our constant focus on the infrastructure that is currently lacking in new ecosystem. Okay, I hope that through the work of NAIR, we can bring blockchain technology and bring new one step closer to users. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, one more talk, and then we're going to have a little break. I'd like to introduce Igor and Vitor Coelho. They are co-founders of Neo Research. Please give them a round of applause.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello.
Good morning, everybody. Aí, pode começar.
Okay, let's do a double presentation, as usual.
As usual.
Oh, this is not our slides. Really? It's not passing through. Help?
Here it is, yes. Here it is correct.
Ah, here is correct. But this is different. Ah, yeah, it's passing.
So,
okay,
meanwhile, we can start. We are from Brazil. My brother is professor in the field of computer science, and we have been investigating during our life things related to optimization and high performance computing. And I think we're gonna. Here it is.
Okay, so first of all, our presentation today is a more technical than usual, but still we are going to try to put it as easy as possible, like for everybody to understand how is the security on NEO network, how the consensus work, basically, and our perspectives on high performance improvements. Well, perhaps some of you know that the difference between classic and modern cryptography, that's a term that we use today, cryptography. An example, typical from 1,000 years before, was Caesar's cipher, that he was trying to communicate on his empire. And how did he make sure that only his generals got the information? He changed the letters. For example, the A or the D, he changed to A. So it scrambled the letters in his manuscript. And the few people that knew the logic could read his manuscript. So it's a very weak type of cryptography because it's simple. Anybody who knows the rules can take his manuscript and decrypt it. And so nowadays that we have computers, we have stronger machines, we cannot do such simple things. So in terms of blockchain, the most important thing regarding cryptography is digital signatures. That's in red here. It's not, usually we don't do a lot of encryption, decryption on the blockchain because it's public. So it has applications, but not a lot. Another primitive which is important is key exchange that's used for secure shell and communication, but for blockchain usually is digital signature, which now uses this standard here, which is very secure for classic computers. So every type of cryptography depends on having a hard problem, hard mathematical problem. Two problems here that are really hard are integer factorization, which is like combining two numbers together to build a bigger number. And trying to reverse this is really hard for classic computers, the computers we have, and the discrete logarithm. But I mean, for classic computers, now we are going to enter an era of quantum computers. And these quantum computers can do like
Now, can I ask you though, obviously, was the fundamental reason for the change and the rebranding more of that legal issue to try and ensure that you were clear in what you stood for? Or was there any other motive? For example, anything related to any other platform or any other company?
No, so it was driven by the legal case, but we were already in the process of rebranding. So we would change either way, and the change away from Next was motivated by legal.
Okay, well, let's talk more about what you stand for, Fab, because that's obviously the crux of why we're all here today to talk about.
We could have, and this is why we need harder problems.
Here's a good example. We can see this guy, Charles Darwin. Around 1963, after Turing, some guys came and they started to design things for solving complex combinatorial optimization problems based on the nature, which is something that is nature to all of us, because we imagine species and you are crossing genes, and you can use that concept for merging solution and try to find solutions that in each generation they are better than the previous one, in the same way that species evolves. So we like to show this example of Charles Darwin because it inspired a lot of different kinds of materialistic-based algorithms. We call genetic algorithms, simulated annealing, variable neighborhood search, and this family of methods for solving combinatorial. There is this famous problem called eternity. In this problem, we have a puzzle. Each piece has 4 colors. If we take, if you want to solve this puzzle with size 16 per 16, we won't find a solution. It's like finding a specific atom in the whole universe. There was a prize of $2 or $1 million for who could solve this puzzle, and anyone was able to solve it. It was called Eternity. But then people thought, no, maybe they designed some puzzle that is unsolvable. But actually it's not, because you can draw in your home a simple, and you can cut the pieces yourself. You can see that after you shuffle that, you won't be able to put the piece together again. So these are examples of simple problems that are like finding a specific atom in the universe. There are plenty of solutions.
It looks easy, but it's really hard. So this is the type of problem that we need, because we need a hard problem to hide our information, to make sure cryptography works. But this question is still open, like P equals NP is like a Millennium Prize problem. That one of the most important open problems today in mathematics, that people believe it's different, that symbol, which means problem hard will keep hard.
And furthermore, since we have been working with this, we believe that this is a path for even a change in the way we can mine hashes. We can have like useful computation for solving this kind of problems, instead of just waste efforts, energy, finding a hash function that specifically meets a difficulty. But this is another discussion.
Okay. Okay, so there is currently a standard going on, and like less than 1 month ago, the NIST report was released with candidates for quantum security. And one thing we need to worry when designing new cryptography is that perhaps is it strong enough, because all the standards we have were tested for many, many years. And there was like a candidate like some time ago, like NTRU sign, that was supposed to be strong and was patented, but sometime after, people discovered flaws that could leak information, so it wasn't secure. So many people argue now that one solution that we could adopt, which is safe, is like using 2 cryptographies. Like one classic cryptography, like elliptic curve, like the same, and together with another quantum safe cryptography. Because if it happens to be weak on the quantum size, because it's new, at least the classical part will be safe. And even if quantum computers got more accessible in a few years, it won't be like accessible to everybody. We could like have 1 quantum computer, 2. So we have time to make it safe at the same time that we don't destroy the security that we already have.
And an interesting thing is that, is now quantum safe? Yes, if you want to design a specific wallet that is quantum safe, you can design that. You can create a smart contract with a specific puzzle that needs to be solved and decrypted. But it's going to be costly. So each time we want to design a specific cryptography, we have 2 paths. Or we implement that on the new VM to become that operation less costly. But on the same time, we can give users flexibility to choose their own cryptography. That's what Vitalik mentioned recently in the Ethereum DevCon, that was to allow users to pick their own cryptography. And this also has a brilliant path, giving flexibility and passing this layer of safety to another level where users can also personalize it in a smoother way, and easy.
Yeah, we have like open pull requests now on Neo Network discussing this issue, so community can contribute. But this is our vision, that we can, instead of just bringing the full cryptography, we can just put pieces that people can build, like different cryptographies. For example, you can use Bitcoin cryptography on Neo. Nowhere, you just build the code, like on the smart contract, and it works. And you can also build like quantum security. We are going to, in a few weeks, I hope, we are going to finish a prototype like of quantum security on Neo. And using the code we have. It will be costly, but it works. I hope.
In the white paper, there was a proposal about new CAS, that is new quantum safety and the quantum security. And in principle, in the white paper of Neo, it was talking about 2 different problems. That is the shortest and closest vector problem, which is basically you have a space of integer numbers and want to find a vector that is close enough to a specific vector. So, but it's not that vector. For example, you need to minimize the Euclidean distance, but you need a vector that is not 0. So you need a vector that is non-zero, but reach that criteria. So that problem is also hard to solve. But it was later shown, as we presented before in the last slide, that anytech you sign was based on such concepts. So after you start to sign a lot of different transactions, you expose your private key. So another idea that came was a similar problem called learning with errors. With learning with errors, you have like a space of integer numbers, and you have a vector, and you have also another Gaussian vector of errors. With both of them, you have the private key. So the idea now is to play with these concepts for generating. It's not proven yet with quantum safety, because there is a report going on about the NSA here with NIST, and they are trying to pick the best promising algorithms for quantum safety. But what we want to show you is the perspective for NIL is that we keep studying that. We keep connected with state of the art and thinking about good implementations and updates that should go on the protocol.
Okay, now let's explain how consensus work. We need 4 volunteers.
4 trained volunteers.
But because of time, we have 4 trained volunteers, which is good. Okay, so this is, usually we need like a multiple of 3 plus 1. This is the rule, because to guarantee that we have one resistance to one evil entity. The evil is green here. Oh. So okay, so how the new consensus work? We have a speaker, which is the node that is selected at each round to propose the transactions, like to group and form the block. So this is the speaker. The speaker is proposing a block, so the others can follow the decision, like inside the block. So we have, now we don't need all the signatures, but we need at least 2F plus 1, meaning that we are resistant to one fault. So in this case, one fault there. The current network has 7 nodes, so we can resist to 2 faults. So okay, this is the regular situation. Another situation, the evil entity, the Byzantine entity, is not proposing the block in time. So what happens? The time passes, and after the time passes, the others request a change view. So they request to change the speaker. So they agreed to change the speaker. So the speaker has changed. Yeah. And now, okay. Now the speaker can propose the block, and the others follow, and we have a new block. So we are resistant.